My dear Bagginses and Boffins, Dukes and Brandy Bugs, Rubs, Jobs, Woodenblowers, Folgers, Grey Scarlows, Brownfoots.
Well, today we are talking about the Lord of the Rings composer Howard Shore is in talks to return to Middle-earth for the Amazon series. This has got me really excited, and this is huge news. I don't know how it's not bigger news. I have not seen this blowing up nearly as much. But this, I think, is a game changer for the Lord of the Rings films, or the Lord of the Rings series, I should say. What do you thought? What are your thoughts?
Oh gosh, yeah. He's a brilliant composer. So
Yeah, and I think the the memes about him and just the jokes about his music, which all of them are in good, like they're all showing him in good light. They don't even do it justice. Where like the memes are like, hey Howard, we need you to play something while we have these beacons getting lit on screen, and he just has this amazing track come that like sends shivers down your spine. There is something about the way Howard Shore, who just real quick, his impressive credits include the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit trilogy, The Departed, The Aviator, Dogma, Mrs. Doubtfire, Silence of the Lambs, The Twilight Saga, interestingly. But I think the way he is able to combine all the characters to have their own tiny melody, but it is still within the same Lord of the Rings song. It like you could literally watch this movie and just listen to the music and know what's going on. Like that is how good the soundtrack is to this movie. Or these movies. Like I wonder if that could be a challenge. Someone should try that to see if they could literally say the dialogue as the music's happening, because the music, it sticks with you. You hear that, you hear those notes, you know exactly what's going on. And like I said, some send shivers down your spine, some make you cry. Just hearing the light backgrounding sound to when Aragorn is leaning over Boromir and talking with him, or when when you've got Gandalf consoling the King of Rohan about his son, like all this stuff. The music is really pushing those emotions, and I think this is huge, and I think it's needed. I didn't want to say this, I didn't want to jinx it, I didn't want to say it, but I think you need to have something like this, a sound or something that really brings the people who were there to see the original trilogy in theaters, to bring us back into that mentality, and nothing does that quicker than the music.
yeah.
And why not too? Like if you're gonna put all the stops with the cost, I think this is one area where you don't want to shortchange anyone. You want this to sound like Lord of the Rings. Now, obviously, not the exact same song. I'm not saying that, but there does need to be that element to it that really tugs on the nostalgia factor, I think, for a lot of us, and
Yeah.
puts us in that world again. Because that song, that music brings you into that world instantly. And I think this is great news for the show. And honestly, good music, I don't know about you, but for me, good music can actually change some subpar scenes in other movies into good scenes just because of the music. So if
I mean the music is iconic. It's important.
Yes.
It's just as important as the rest of the film for in terms of Lord of the Rings. I think anyway.
Yeah, exactly. I think you cannot like
it wouldn't be that I can't imagine the music being different. If it's different, it might be really bad. I don't know.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. Is like there's some dialogue, and there's a theory I heard. I think I actually first heard this theory from the creators of South Park, and this is a little bit of a tangent, but it kind of goes to sound and stuff. But when you have a foreign film that is using subtitles, they can kind of get away with cheesy dialogue because it's subtitles and you don't hear the dialogue. But in the
Yeah.
on the flip side, you can have a cheesy scene that doesn't even fit. And we've actually covered a few on this YouTube channel where people have pointed out that certain scenes in Lord of the Rings don't quite work for them. The music brings it together, and so even if the scene is completely out of place, the music is so iconic, like you said, that you're like, oh, this is Lord of the Rings. This is the movie. This is part of it, and like it you don't even miss a step, and just the timing of the music, and this is along with Peter Jackson's directing, obviously, as well. So that's something that also is important, where you're able to combine the music with the scene to match it up the way you need it to. Um, but without that music, I think you have a very strange a few scenes that might fall flat without the music really hyping the whole thing up.
Well, you need it for like the landscape scenes,
Oh,
definitely.
yeah, like when you get that full band sound
Yeah.
coming over those landscape scenes, you don't even care that you're watching landscapes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do. I have an idea. No, I
Or the dwarven hall, like the
yes,
wonder when they light it up. You need the music too.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, you do. Uh, yeah, actually, that's a good scene to talk about, because that scene itself is actually a pretty good scene with no music on. It would still kind of be pretty good. That music makes it an iconic scene. Like that scene, when you think of Lord of the Rings, and your mind kind of skims through a bunch of scenes, a bunch of characters, and all that. That's one of them.
Yeah.
There's actually two big battles in the Mines of Moria, but the hall getting lit up like that is actually pretty impactful. Um, yeah, and just obviously in the battle scenes, to have that music over top, and the music is actually what sets up the different emotional pulls, because you've got certain moments where you're like, oh, the good guys are winning, oh, the bad guys are winning, and like sometimes it's shown, but other times the music just changes, and you already know, like you're already feeling the emotion of what's happening, and it's not exactly obvious just yet what is unfolding, and then now the bad guys have the upper hand, and whatnot. So I think there's a lot more that goes into how this music affects the atmosphere, and how you feel about the film than some people realize. But I think I don't think anyone's gonna be upset about this. I honestly don't, because if you like the original series, original trilogy, and now you have the same music, what, you wanted it to be completely different? You don't want any crossover. Yeah, so I think this is just good. If this is true and works out, I think this is is one of the best news pieces of news from the Amazon series that I've heard.
The contrast. I mean, I just think a contrast though, and this did work, but uh, I mean, George Lucas is always stuck with like John Williams,
Yes,
but then the Mandalorian they did go away from Williams because they wanted like a more Western feel. And I
that's
think
right.
the Mandalorian has good music too,
It
and it's
does.
it's it's fine that they departed from the original stuff.
You're right.
Uh,
You're right. I think right what you're saying there
but
is
that's the particular theme of that show is kind of the cowboy coming in and doing whatever cowboys do.
yeah, and I actually would agree if this was if the Lord of the Rings show was actually going to be much smaller in scale,
Yeah.
and I would say
It,
you need a different genre. You cannot be big fantasy world building genre small scale. Similar to Mandalorian, like you see these things, but it's just on the background. Like you have no idea what's going on outside of the Mandalorian.
yeah.
And so if you're gonna do that, in Lord of the Rings, then yeah, you probably do want something slightly potentially darker if you're going that way or whatnot. But if you're gonna try to do the same exact big world building fantasy epic, I think part of when people hear Lord of the Rings, they're hearing that music in their head, and I think you've got to go big for that if that's what you're gonna do. But yeah, if you're gonna go Mandalorian size of show, then
Yeah, like a subgenre within the
yeah,
world.
and
Yeah,
and
if you had a show following, I don't know, the the pi- the pirate guys or something in Lord of the Rings.
oh yeah, yeah, you could just have like
It'd
a
be completely
pirate.
different.
You could get the Disney Pirates of the Caribbean music and just have them having a good old time before before all this stuff happens to them. Yeah, or if you had like a spooky one thing I always thought would be a cool idea for like a small scale Lord of the Rings show is those ghosts that Aragorn eventually
Oh
convinces
yeah.
to fight with him. There are like urban legends of towns around there of ghosts and stuff. I thought that'd be kind of like a spooky horror ish genre, but set in Lord of the Rings, because
Hmm.
it you would actually have a lot of lore to draw on because of the history of these ghosts. So I thought that would be kind of fun. And yeah, for that you probably don't want the the epic sound that you're hearing in Lord of the Rings. You probably want something a little bit spookier and maybe less sound and now like less is more sort of thing in that genre. But yeah, in westerns you definitely are looking for, and you hear it too in the Mandalorian. You hear like these like old whistle type sounds
Yep.
in the music that it doesn't make sense ish in space, but it works for that show. Like I think the music is great in that show.
Yep.
But if you are gonna try to recreate the epic that is the entirety of the Lord of the Rings world in scope, then I don't think you can go wrong with Howard Shore. I'm sure other people can do a great job, but this guy has already done it, and he did it so well that he's won Academy Awards for the music he wrote
Exactly.
in the original Lord of the Rings trilogy. Um, he won 3 Academy Awards, one for each movie. So why not? He's already won the awards for the music there. I think, yeah, it's a no brainer if you can reel him in. And heck, it doesn't have to be every episode. Like maybe you have some shows do like a one-off episode of a different genre. Then you can throw something different in there, like you're talking about with Mandalorian. But I think all in all, this is where you go if you are trying to build that full
Yeah.
experience of Lord of the Rings out.
You could have a random show about some ranger, like just a ranger we've never seen before or
Yeah,
something.
that honestly that is kind of similar to the Mandalorian too, right?
Yeah.
Like that would work. People would watch that.
Yep.
People would watch literally like hobbits doing things for like, you know, I think people would watch a bunch of stuff that are just set in these worlds as Mandalorian shows us, and it's all a matter of getting the rights to it and getting people on board to do that kind of stuff. And but yeah, I would be interested to see that stuff, but obviously you get to a point where it's oversaturated. So we'll see where this show goes and how it works, because like think of all those like Game of Thrones spin-offs that ended up not happening because of what happened in Game of Thrones. So
Mhm.
yeah, yeah, I've got nothing else to say. Like I'm just excited about it. I'm reading some of these comments here. They're all excited. Like literally, let me just find them here so I can put them up on the screen. Okay, got the first comment. Hope they get him. He nailed the mood for all the settings in the movies and every song adapted from the books except Pippin's song on Return of the King, but that was on purpose. Yeah. I think we've talked about this. Pippin's song was written by that actor. And if not, if we haven't talked about it, we will. This other comment. I've had little to no interest in this series up to this point. So this is what I'm saying. Like this is actually going to draw people in, and if he can get it right, which I have no doubt he will, you're instantly back there. And honestly, it might people might actually like things even if they aren't great because of the music.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. Everyone's saying like his work on those movies are a big part of those movies' identities, as you pointed out. They're iconic. Um, and yeah, some people still think the show's not going to be great because they're not. These people are kind of, you know, original trilogy only kind of people. Which I completely understand. That is such a good trilogy that you almost don't want anything to touch it. But if this works out, I think like we are all kind of starved. I see this all the time on the forums. People are starved for Lord of the Rings games, anything Lord of the Rings content wise, because obviously we can't get any more because the author is no longer with us. So like all we can really get are new television or movies and new video games. So I think ultimately, yeah, the trilogies are not going anywhere, but I do want to see what they can put together for this show. Yeah, literally every comment is except for one who said that he didn't think the Hobbit movies are very good, but every other comment is super excited about it. I'm really excited about it. Are you? I'm assuming you're super excited about it.
Yeah.
I don't even need to say this, but if you're excited about it, put it in the comments. If you're not excited, if you're not excited about it, you can leave a comment if you want, but I don't know if we'll read that comment. I don't know. This one's personal. I'm a huge music fan myself. Of all a bunch of genres and a bunch of different composers film. And so for me music is really important, and so I'm just stoked about this one.
I regret to announce this is the end. I bid you all a very fond farewell.